there comes a time in every min-maxer's life where we come upon things that just don't work. Some of us, well, we'll say fie on that. We'll just go play Vital Strike Barbarians or Uber Chargers or Zap Zap Magi. Some of us don't give up. And that's what this week's episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit is all about. No screenshot for this one. This one was over voice. But once again, it's that little guy right there, little Kieran's player, has requested I optimize 2 feats that at the time of request we didn't realize, rules as written, did not work together. That is to say, we're combining the ranged cleave optimization goodness, like what we used on the Cardcaster of Startoss style, with the Alchemist bomb. I found a workaround, and it's a workaround that's a little explosive. I hate puns. Subscribe for more puns! Yeah! And hey, remember that patronage at any tier, guys, will give you access to the Google Sheet this character is on, as well as guides for things like underwater combat, grappling, complicated mechanics. We've got a Rage one up on the Discord now. It can all be yours. Today, this episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit was brought to you in part by the man who requested it, Dragon9Hide. Thank you for your support, man. Now, let's hit it. Okay, so at the very front of the video, before we talk about anything else, I just want to put it out there that we are running headlong into some gray areas. Sometimes it's like that. Some GMs may not allow our workaround to work. And to be honest, optimizing the Bomber Alchemist looks a little better when you're 2-weapon fighting, rapid shotting, throwing all the explosives at all the folks. But we're not here to worry about that right now. First, let's talk about why this does not work. Startoss style allows a weapon from the thrown fighter group eventually to bounce from target to target. The first problem we run into is that the Alchemist bomb is not a member of the thrown fighter weapon group. And even if it was, since it uses the throw splash weapon special ability, the bomb is destroyed on impact, meaning it can't bounce. My first thought for the workaround was the explosive missile discovery. Unfortunately, that takes its own standard action, which means we cannot use a standard action to use Startoss style. So we had to go even deeper, running into a weapon enchantment that I'd never heard of before, never really paid attention to, and to be honest, sometimes I wonder if we, the community, haven't slept on this one a little bit, the conductive enchantment. A conductive weapon is able to channel the energy of a spell-like or supernatural ability that relies on a melee or ranged touch attack to hit its target. When the wielder makes a successful attack of the appropriate type, he may choose to expend 2 uses of his magical ability to channel it through the weapon to the struck opponent, which suffers the effect of both the weapon attack and the special ability. If the wielder has unlimited uses, then you can do it once around. The example they use is a paladin who whaps somebody with a conductive greatsword, can then spend 2 uses of lay on hands to lay on hands the thing. We can only do this once per round, even with several conductive weapons, so a bunch of conductive ammos out here. And the power only works on magical abilities of the same type as the weapon. And this is where I'm gonna run smack into people who don't agree with me. Put it in the comments, we'll debate it all day. It's a pretty spirited discussion on the internet whether or not the Alchemist bomb qualifies for the conductive weapon. The reasons I think it should be fine are as follows. First and foremost, bomb is a supernatural ability. The conductive ability likes that. Bombs use the throw splash weapons special attack to be used, barring things like breath weapon bomb, but by that very logic, the paladin cannot use lay on hands because the paladin could channel energy by expending lay on hands uses instead of using lay on hands, right? As long as I'm not trying to throw a javelin that breath weapon bombs at the end, we're fine. A thrown splash weapon requires a ranged touch attack, and there you go. That's my argument for why this works. Some people will say no, because the ability creates the bomb is its own weapon. Even if that's true, to really quickly be the elephant in the room here, there are 3 pretty big optimization holes with this plant. First and foremost, we're using bombs at double the rate to be able to do this. That means we are NOVA gonna nova a whole bunch. We'll run out of resources faster than the other guy next to us who's optimized for combat. Secondly, though our damage output is grand, there's a lot of people who will just straight up outdamage us. Can we pass the damage around to more guys? Yeah, of course we can. But this is not like my Uber Charger, my Vital Striking Barbarian, my Soha Archer. They can all outdamage this. And last but not least, though I don't think it's fair to use it in games, we've had this conversation, follow this card right up here, we'll have it again. We're doing a boatload of fire damage. A lot of things in Pathfinder have amazing resistances or flat, outright immunities to that damage type. Now, again, I think using immunities against this is unfair, but even like resistance 30. Sure, we'll damage over that on average, but it takes a huge chunk of our damage away. When something is gray like this, my rule of thumb usually is, well, how powerful is it if I allow it to happen? And there is just things that are better. Therefore, I think conductive plus alchemist bombs, totally fine. Now, let's talk about the build itself. Stepping off my soapbox. So I cannot believe I'm saying this. Today, Kobold. Yeah, have to do it. I'm so uncomfortable with playing a race that has this many negs on it, but plus 1/2 to the number of bombs per day the Alchemist can create is huge for us because we're gonna Nova like there's no tomorrow. The plus 2 to Dex is pretty good for us, what with the that's what we're rolling to hit, and the minus 4 to Strength and minus 2 to Constitution don't hurt as bad as other things could, because we'll need our intelligence to make bombs and damage with them, though that minus 4 Strength, that's the damage from our weapon. But getting access to Prehensile Tail is always huge for an Alchemist, because of the accelerated drinker trait, allowing you to drink a potion as a move action and draw it with your tail instead of hands that may often be holding other things. Especially because our weapon, the humble sling, requires 2 hands to reload. Starting your turn with the potion in tail, hand, means we can keep our buffs running. And of course, my friends, we do this with the Kobold's Prehensile Tail, alternate racial ability. Okay, full stop. There was a time that we complained about this back in the day. I guess we're gonna do it one more time. Kobolds are a really bad race. To be perfectly honest with you, I think they're unplayable. I'm not a fan of level adjustment. I do think the Kobold, in and of itself, deserves to have one more class level than the rest of the party, because basically they're just horrible. They are a meme. We settled on this race because I wanted something after bouncing from the Tiefling for the Prehensile Tail, trying to use some racial heritage adopted shenanigans to get to an FCB that would give us extra bombs, then eventually going over to the Hobgoblin to just flat take that FCB, then ultimately settling on the Kobold, as the Kobold could have both. I will fully admit, this part of the video is kind of on me. As I was scrolling, I saw they got a Prehensile Tail. As I was making the video, there's definitely a point where like, oh, wait, I could do a Kobold, that has a tail. The Kobold's Prehensile Tail replaces its natural armor buff, one of the few good things this race gets. And that gives us a plus 2 racial bonus on acrobatics and climb checks. Also, it lets us use our tail to draw a hidden weapon as a move action instead of a standard action, which is completely different language than every other race that has access to a Prehensile Tail. Observe the Tiefling's Prehensile Tail, used to retrieve small stowed objects as a swift action. Somehow their tail is faster, the same is true for the Venolras. I have to assume that the people who wrote Kobolds of Golarion and the people who wrote the Advanced Race Guide are separate people, so technically speaking, maybe you could draw a sling bullet, but an extract you can't. However, that's just another nail in the coffin of the race that we're looking at, and real talk, once again, I think it's kind of a crime. For one of the major RPG entities on planet Earth to print stats for a race, an iconic race, if not like an iconic race to be kicked around, and then not give it anything. Look at the Goblin. Look how good the Goblin is. Now, look back at Kobold. Kobold is a mess. Literally the only reason we're playing a Kobold was the marriage of the Prehensile Tail and the extra bombs favored class bonus. That's the one niche that I can see a Kobold and be like, yeah, that's playable. I could play that. Hooray! Otherwise, it just languishes in a book somewhere, it languishes in PDFs. No one ever uses them unless they're trying to not roleplay, no, trying to meme, trying to be bad, basically. So I'm going to be that guy. And I'm going to say, because this race is just so unplayable, and because this literally has the same name as other alternate racial traits, I think it's totally fine to let the Kobold's Prehensile Tail work like everybody else's so they can grab potions and stuff. Now I'm really stepping off my soapbox. The other trait is entirely up to you. Now let's talk about our archetype. Our archetype doesn't add that much to the build, but the stuff it does add is either really tax relieving for us or just powerful. That is to say, today, we're a Grenadier. Getting one martial weapon for free at first level replaces Brew Potion, and that hurts. That's one of our most powerful resources. But you know what else is powerful for mighty dragon lords? Alchemical weapon. At second level, I may infuse a weapon or piece of ammunition, like this little pebble here, with a single harmful alchemical liquid or powder as a move action. This consumes the item, but transfers its effects to the next weapon in question. How dare they question my draconic power? That item takes full effect on the next creature struck by a little tiny pebble. Eventually, I can make this go even faster, but frankly, go away, little guy. I just can't. Am I really optimizing a kobold today? Who am I? Not worried about that right now. That's versatile. That's huge. There's a magic item that lets you combine two alchemical items into one, and that's a whole video unto itself. That's one of the reasons we're choosing the Grenadier, because when you do run out of resources, you can still have tricks up your sleeve. And free precise bombs as a bonus discovery doesn't look bad either, does it? No, it doesn't. Explode them!
Really, I just want to use this voice for everything that's small, kind of, because I'm sort of stealing it from Deacon from Neverwinter Nights, and also Meatwad. Sucks to be a goblin, I guess. Goblin favorite class bonus is pretty good for a bomber, too.
We're getting off topic. Feats! It's time for feats! Of course, the Alchemist receives Throw Anything as a bonus feat at first, and we get to add our int on damage done with splash weapons, which is super huge for us. But can you guess what our first feat is? Yeah, we're an archer. Hooray! For the same feat everyone has to take at the beginning, Point Blank Shot. Just read it. I'm so tired of telling everyone what Point Blank Shot does. And our next feat, of course, it's Precise Shot! Just kidding, Precise Shot is in a second. Slings require a little more finesse, to pardon the pun. The next feat we have to take is Ammo Drop! That allows me, the mighty warrior of dragons, to load one end of a sling as a swift action. Otherwise it takes too long. The action economy is really bad for slings, and I'm not sure why Rapid Reload didn't just lump in what's arguably the worst weapon in Pathfinder. Oh well. Take it and be happy, then take Precise Shot and pay the tax, man. Kobold has no concept of tax, only has concept of burning. I shouldn't talk this way. I have a lot of intelligence. Tucker would be so pleased, I'm sure. Weapon focus with the sling is next for that +1. Then we're diving in. Startoss style, Startoss Comet, then Vital Strike, Improved Vital Strike, Startoss Shower, and last but not least, extra bombs. Yeah, we did that pretty fast, but we also just talked about how this build works for a cardcaster Magus. Follow this card right up here. Joe Chu, if you're watching, I'm gonna have the cardcaster Google Sheet done today, promise you. Extra bombs is a huge feat for us. That gives us 2 additional bombs per day, or 1 more use of the conductive shenanigan. It's so huge for us that every feat that is the end of a feat chain for us will be retrained as extra bombs, and that feat will be put on the training enchantment on our primary weapon. That's 4 rounds of extra bombs, yeah, replacing Improved Vital Strike, Startoss Comet, Precise Shot, and Ammo Drop. For 8 more bombs per day, our FCB gives us 10 more bombs per day. Of course, this will allow my power of dragon explosions to keep up, so I don't run out of resources and then become a sad, horrible race that no one should play. Yeah, now, discoveries are a thing. Let's talk about those. Precise Bombs is free from being a Grenadier, and that allows when I throw a bit of dragon fire, because that's clearly what this is. I am the most wise and brilliant agent of dragon fire, and I'm putting dragon fire in a bomb and it goes... Yes, just like that. It allows me to select a number of squares that won't take minimum plus intelligence, aka splash damage. Of course, I could just pass out extracts that give people fire resistance or fire immunity, or of course they could suck it up and cry to the healer, or I could heal them. I am a very versatile class. No, really though, you could put 5 alchemists in the same room, and all of them could look vastly different, even if they were all spec'd to be bombers. That's what makes them so cool. But on the note of passing out resistances, you'd of course do that with the infusion discovery, staple to all of my explodey, mutatey friends. This lets my friends drink it as if it were a potion. The extract, of course, I mean. Which allows me to serve the party in ways other than exploding our enemies. Though, truthfully, I'd just much rather be more happy exploding our enemies. Kobold like fire. Kobold too smart to speak like this. What is this strange character I've made? Yeah, I guess I'd play this, just to run around as a mad dragon scientist. Yeah, I think I just sold myself. Okay, so Frost Bombs is next. This says when we create a bomb, we can choose to have it inflict cold damage. Creatures that take a direct hit from it are staggered on their next turn, unless they pass a fort save, which is a huge lock. All Bomber Alchemists love this, and versatility is great. If people come at you with the I word, use this. Assuming they don't also resist cold damage. I guess then you were just destined to lose, sorry about it. Next up, we'll expand our minds a little bit. This must be how I got so wise with dragon powers. Drugs! The Cognitogen. We get a mutagen as well. Our math is going to be real wonky today, because we can basically manipulate any ability score we want. That's great. Cognitogen works just like a mutagen, but it's for our mental ability scores. It's up to you, the player, to know when you want to have a mutagen on or a Cognitogen on. You can only maintain one mutagen or Cognitogen, so you can't have both, unfortunately. But sometimes you'll need to pad your int for DCs, at the cost of strength. Sometimes you'll want to pad your strength to do more damage with your weapon, at the cost of int. Terrifying. Sometimes you gotta pad your dex so you can hit better. Sometimes you need to pad your wisdom to save. Sometimes I have to pad my charisma because no one's around and I'm in the store. And the merchant is chasing me with a broom! And doesn't he understand that I'm just here to buy alchemical reagents? He will serve me later, for I am mighty dragon. Combine extracts is next, which lets us have our pseudo-metamagic 2 formula in 1 extract, with a spell slot, quote-unquote, 2 levels higher. Then we get a really dumb one. We talked about this at the Vivisectionist. Gonna do it one more time. Probably gotta do it on every alchemist, really. The splitting mutagen. Once per day, while under the effects of a mutagen, the alchemist can split into 2 identical copies of himself as an immediate action after being damaged by a piercing or slashing weapon. So I guess carry like a needle around and poke yourself? Because this race has to try to get a bite attack. No claws, no nothing. Take the Dragon Maw alternate racial trait. Sure, why not? Bite your lip. Then you become 2 people. You split your current hit points between these copies, they use the same stats, share the same resources, and have identical equipment. If one of the copies expends a charge or daily use from a magic item that a copy has, the charge or daily use is expended from both. If one copy drops or gives away an item, it disappears from the other. But these 2 copies are independent. These 2 copies have a full set of actions. At the end of our next turn, we select a copy. That's us, the other one oozes away. But by 12th level, that means we can kind of sort of double our damage output. More bombs? Great. Even if that's just use your conductive enchantment to blow up a dude, then have the copy throw a bomb, or go deliver a potion, or go buff someone. Action economy is key, kids. You know what else is key? Having a really big splash! Making a big splash is really important. How else will your subjects know that you have come to rule over them? We will take explosive bomb incredibly late. That allows my bomb to have a splash radius of 10 feet. Creatures that take a direct hit from an explosive bomb catch fire and take 1d6 points of fire damage each round until the fire is extinguished. Just like the Alchemist from Wrath of the Righteous. Adam, Nick, Tim, Jason, am I right, guys? Am I right? Yeah, it's really mean. D6 of fire at this point is pointless and arbitrary. It's just important we spread out our splash a little bit for some spells. You'll see why in a second. Cursed Bomb is next, because I just love it. A creature that takes a direct hit from a Cursed Bomb must succeed at a will save or be affected by Bestow Curse. Nothing better than nuking someone's most important stat, or least important stat. If you hit me in the strength with this at low-level play, before I have enough magic items to compensate, I'm probably very, there's no other way to say it. Pardon my language, puny humans. Greater Mutagen is next, to continue to buff up our ability to do damage and stuff. However, did you know as of Chronicle of Legends, we've got alternate capstones? Yeah, that's fun. That's a thing that happens. Rather than gaining our capstone, there are a whole slew of new abilities we can get. Some of them can be taken by anybody. One of them is unique to us, is the Alchemist Vast Explosions for plus 3d6 to damage with our bombs. Whee! Yeah, that's the most terrifying thing you've ever heard of in your whole life. Now we've got one real dumb magic item and one spell we need to talk about before we can show you how this build's really going to pan out. I'm sure this one's going to give GMs just all the headaches in the world. It's the Boulder Bullet. It's so key to our build because we're so small and slings are so horrible. This of course appears to be a magical sling bullet when held, but it's actually a shrunken piece of catapult ammunition. Now I'm sure there are going to be some places in the world that firing a boulder at someone's going to get a little weird. A boulder bullet expands rapidly when launched from a sling or sling staff, increasing in size and dealing greater base damage depending on the version used. This doesn't affect the bullet's range or any of the normal mechanics for using a sling bullet, except again, like, if the door is too small, well, I mean, that's a lot of d6 you're throwing at the door. So no, it doesn't matter if the dungeon's not big enough. Stay out of my way. I'll open the door. I volunteer. Draconic Malice. If we miss, we roll a d8 to determine an adjacent square where our boulder lands. Once it's been thrown and expanded, suddenly we have a new piece of terrain. That heavy boulder bullet will set us back 2006 gold per shot. But the base damage from our humble little kobold is 8d6. Yeah, you thought the sling was a bad weapon? It's kind of a bad weapon. But for the low cost of what is a low cost by high level play, grab a couple of these, you're good to go. Item the second on our docket is Bouncing Bomb Admixture. It's a 3rd level alchemist formula that takes a swift action to cast, which along with several other really sweet spells, makes a significant change to the magical reserve that modifies the nature of the next bomb you create and throw. It has no effect on discoveries you use, so it stacks, but you can only have one bomb admixture active at a time. If you drink another bomb admixture, the effects of the former and the new one becomes active. There may be some weird specific trumps general here with the conductive enchantment, but I said it before, I'm gonna say it again. Someone is much better at this than we are. There is no other way to say it. That's just how it is. Someone will always outdamage us, fire resistances are a thing. This allows us to take a niche build and use it as sort of a consolation prize because we can't do what we want to do, but when we throw our next bomb, we choose one target that would normally be hit by the bomb's splash. This is why I need 10 feet! I'm sorry I keep burning all your hair off! Maybe wear a helmet or something, nerd. The target is affected as if it suffered a direct hit from the bomb instead. Since we can't make the bomb bounce as much as the sling bullet can, just flat hitting 2 people with it, yeah, good enough for me. And this is a swift action. So swift action this, move action into position, standard action, let loose. Now, it's everyone's favorite time. Y'all ready, kids? Math time! So that gigantic rock that we're hucking at somebody has a base damage of 8d6. Improved Vital Strike lets us triple the dice, so casually, that's 24 d6 that we're chucking at someone's head. There's probably a pretty good case for a fighter, someone who really specializes in the sling with full bab to really be able to abuse this. We're not talking about crit math here, but god, can you imagine? Where's my scimitar sling? Give it to me now! Anyway, 24 d6 will average out at 84 damage. Of course, we'll want a +5 sling. +5 conductive, training is what we're looking at here. Then we'll add 4 from strength. Between a mutagen and magic items, I think we can reasonably say we can get the kobold to 18 strength, even if strength was low at the beginning. Again, those numbers are going to be a humongous abstract. Between a mutagen and a cognitogen, expect your ability scores to change a lot. Startoss style will stack on 6 more damage, so even if you couldn't bounce the weapon, adding +6 damage don't look bad at all. And then 1 from point blank shot means, on average, we're doing 96 points of damage, as the first guy is hit in the face with artillery. Then the conductive enchantment lets our bomb go off for 13 d6 of fire damage after a capstone, averaging out around 46 plus an intelligence of 32, giving us a modifier of 16. One of the few things good about the kobold in this build is it doesn't have a severe int neg. So between magic items, leveling up, books, things of that nature, 32 intelligence seems pretty reasonable to me. So all told, we're looking at an average of 158 damage. Rocks fall. That guy might have died. That guy's probably not happy. I'll say that. Then Startoss style allows our enormous rock to bounce somehow. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to look at you and be like, no, that makes no sense. Let me remind you, Pathfinder is a high magic game. You are a high magic, though not technically magical class. Just let it be a thing. So many people can do this without having to jump through any hoops at all. Anywho, target the second. When we bounce, we'll take bouncing bomb admixtures, full everything. All average 62 of a splash, plus the average of 28 from 8d6. You can bounce 2 more times. Those targets will take 28 points of damage, as well as 29 points of splash damage. Maybe someone catches on fire, maybe you staggered 2 people. Again, this class is incredibly modal. You probably always have an answer for the situation. Follow this card right up here for your big 6 stuff. In the optimized party, I guess we're the Punisher, huh? We don't have a giant threat range, we're not whapping a bunch of people, but we are putting everyone's hit points down pretty fast. Being able to target multiple people will certainly do that, and again, you can shore up the control by staggering people, you can help the control by bestow cursing people, it's real good. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. What do you guys have to think about all this? What shenanigans have you got up to with the conductive enchantment? What shenanigans have you got up to with alchemists? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Next time on Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit, not necessarily a certain class, but we are going up against a certain enemy. Next week, we're going kaiju hunting. See you then.